Good afternoon and welcome to, I am very excited today because we have got, first of all, we have got supplier royalty. So hello, Andy, the deferential nod of the hat towards you.
Thank you, Mr. Well, delighted to be here.
We have royalty. We have Simon Gerrard of the quickly edited Martin Gerrard estate agents. The clue is in the name. How are you, Simon? You are looking just luscious today.
I am feeling exceptional, and we are doing exceptionally. So yeah.
No cough, sneezes, no persistent cough. Good.
No, okay. I've got a bottle of wine so that I can continue to.
Just look. It's just you're in that demographic now, and I worry about you.
Stand up and give us a sideways profile, Mr. Whale. Let's see if you're in the demographic.
Yeah, I'm more in that Boris Trump, obese one, aren't I? And then, of course, I don't know how you're all looking at this on the screen, but next to me, as should only be fitting, we have award royalty, not just in sales, but also in lettings. Nick Neal of YouMove, who I would hope, Nick, that you have only just sobered up, haven't you, from the celebrations of a spectacular double win last week?
Exactly. We're still riding the wave, Simon. We're very pleased with what we've achieved. It's fantastic.
I'd have been out till November with that kind of win, but anyway. Right. Thank you very much for joining us again, gents. I think it's going to be actually a really interesting in today, because what we're looking at today is obviously absolutely critical in terms of, are you delivering the best customer service here? And we're going to talk about very hands-on in terms of your experiences with our good friend here, Mr. Solomon, and the various ways that obviously Yomdel can help you achieve those things. So if I've given my normal Simon Whale introduction there, but it probably does warrant you all just giving yourself just a brief introduction, who you are, a bit about the business, and then we'll kick on with the questions. Nick, do you want to just kick us off?
Sure. Okay. So my name is Nick. It says on the screen, I'm Managing Director of YouMove, and we've been around since 2014 with a new model of agency, which is, kind of, everyone uses this term hybrid nowadays, but I suppose the first real hybrid agency, which to us, the definition means we're a full service agent and would do everything and more that you'd expect an agent on high street to do. We just don't have shops. And I think sometimes that's quite difficult for not only consumers to understand, but also our competitors to understand as well. So it's completely the other end of the market to the true online operators who we all know. And consequently, because of the way we deliver our service to our customers, which I'll certainly happily explore in more detail as we go through this, and part of which is supported by Yomdel, of course, means that the service delivery is literally through the roof, and that's been recognised in the double award win last week. So we believe, we had the model right in 2014. We've refined it over time. And I think actually as a function of lockdown and people being forced off the high street, if you like, we've proven that this model is truly robust certainly for the current economic environment as well.
And what I like, Nick, is you've never felt the need, have you, to take a probably easy but lazy pop at traditional agency? You've just gone on and done your own thing, as you've mentioned there. There's none of the angst, and I think that's led to actually a really, nobody likes competitors, but a really grudging respect towards YouMove.
And I think so. And it's probably a combo of a number of things. We have people in our business that are experienced agents that have come from the agency sector, about 50% now. And the other half are people who've come from outside of the industry. And I was one of those as a franchisee back in the early days. And consequently, we have a culture which is very, very focused on customers. It's not, your kind of traditional estate agency culture. And right from the founding partners of YouMove, it's been totally and utterly self-funded. There's never been any external debt or borrowings. We haven't burned through hundreds of millions of pounds as other onliners have done.
Sorry, did you say as Kerfuffle has done there? That's a bit.
No, not quite. The consequence is we can truly say we are probably one of the most profitable new model businesses in our market right now, because we've never taken a single pound of external debt. Yeah.
And that's really, really important. I mean, the old, turnovers, vanity, profit sanity is you're really delivering on that. And I've seen that. I was lucky enough just to meet Glenn the once, but that unique the founders of the business, and obviously you've got the great U-Move and the head shepherd thing going on. But actually, what I really was impressed about as well was the thought and time that went into that, genuinely making yourselves different with that. It's called Eureka, isn't it? Is essentially your central system. What really are focusing on the new models of things like social media and everything there. And I'm guessing it's that kind of search for innovation that led you to Yomdel, isn't it? What services do you currently have on board, or do you use with them, Nick?
So with Yomdel, we probably one of your first customers, Andy, weren't we? I think.
Yeah.
So we've got the web chat on the website, of course, and the reason for that is that 50% of consumers want to reach an agent outside of normal business hours. So I think what a lot of agents praise themselves on, quite rightly so, is that when they have an interaction with a customer, they generally deliver very, very good levels of customer service. But 50% of those customers don't get any interaction at all, and they're the ones that complain that agents are no good. You can't get hold of them. So what we've identified, and through Glenn, as you mentioned, and Andy's support as well, is how do we reach all of our customers 24/7, weekends, overnight, either by phone or through the web, and give them a very, very high quality customer experience. And through the sort of detailed work we've done with Yomdel in developing the chat scripts and all this kind of stuff, customers can flow through that process very, very quickly, but not rushed, but in a time-sensitive fashion to reach the outcome that they want, not that necessarily we want. And that's either, to book a viewing, to get information on a property, to book an appraisal, whatever else it might be. And of course, all the guys running the chat behind the scenes at Yomdel have access to our Eureka system, which essentially gives them access to our agents' diaries, where they can actually book actual viewings for properties or appraisals, that coordinates with the franchisee locally, who then rings the customer later, does that additional qualification call. So the experience for the consumer is entirely rounded and seamless, and we don't lose anyone. That's the important thing. So rather than just address half of our customers very well, we address 100% of our customers very well, and that gives us that leading edge.
So that phrase that always drives me mad, that you hear a lot of people talk about, the tire kickers. The problem with that is if you give in to that kind of approach, is you legitimize a lot of your staff to actually just say, oh, they were tire kickers, weren't they? And the problem with that is they can't call that 100% of the time. Yeah, sometimes gut feel they will get that right, but in every one, in every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those tire kickers will be a solid client that basically you've turned into a tire kicker because you haven't dealt with them properly.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. And people don't, you go to the pub because you've got nothing to do, because when you get there, it's good fun. You don't interact with an estate agent because you really can't think of anything better to do you? So the point is, most people have a reason to interact, and that reason needs to be heard, and it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be followed up.
Okay, well, we're going a bit. Have I got news for you now? Just to let you know, on the scoring front, Nick is ahead of everybody because he's taking this down to the base barometer of pubs and everything. Within the first soundbite, I just, okay, I was going to say, Simon, how are you going to step up to that? I was going to introduce you as well as a traditional agent, and I thought that there's nothing traditional about you. But give us your, where you position yourself now in the marketplace, and again, just how Andy's team are helping you out.
Well, we, unlike Nick, we've been around for 50 years longer. So we started in 1964. However, one of the main reasons that we exist today and are considered one of the leading agents in the country, let alone in our local area, is because, like Madonna, we continue to reinvent ourselves. And we are always looking 3 steps forward in order to consider what the consumer is looking for. So very much like Nick, we have people on hand to speak to anybody who's interested in looking to buy as often as possible. Our staff receive the best training and have the best tools to do their job, because we pride ourselves on the quality service that we offer to the mid and the high range properties in our area. And as a result of which, we're able to corner the market in most of our areas and dictate our fees, which is fairly good in the market that we're in. But one of the reasons that we can do that is because of the customer service and customer experience that we offer to people, which is, I believe, head and shoulders above what other people do, partly because of our interaction and the way that Yomdel and other platforms all interact with us through foundations on Reapit or whatever. So it's having a seamless interaction, and very much as Nick has said, although the COVID situation has accelerated customer behavior, we have been aware of where the behavior were going for some time, because we've been with Andy since early 2016, so nearly 5 years now, and we've helped him, I hope, to develop scripts. His staff are trained on what Martin Gerard is about, and they're the people that deal with the chats, so that it feels like an extension of the service that they receive through us. And I think the COVID situation, as much as anything else, has accelerated things, because we have today an on-demand way of thinking. You have Amazon. If you want to buy something, you can buy it straight away. So looking at property for us is very different, but for the consumer is no different. So when they go on the website and they want answers straight away, because they live in the moment a lot of the time, which is why the extension to the service, because the live chat was the initial extension of our service. We've now gone further because we've integrated with the ability for the Yomdel staff to talk through somebody on the website, to book valuations, to book viewings, etc. If they are in the moment and they want to talk to someone straight away, we have a system whereby they can be put through straight away from Yomdel, who contact them, get them on the phone and put them on. And a lot of people said to me, but why do we need that? Because Yomdel send through the lead and we respond to it generally within 10 minutes, maximum an hour.
Yeah.
And the main reason is that even within the process at Yomdel, they've got to process everything and send it through. And let's say that takes a minute or two, which is no time at all in reality. But for the customer who's looking at the website, they're in the moment. 2 minutes later, they've gone for a wee, or they've gone to make a cup of tea, or they're watching telly now, and they don't want to talk to anybody. But in that moment, they wanted to talk to someone. So if you can make that connection there, so you are that person, you've answered the questions, and then you offer the service that extended throughout your company, which is increasingly important, I believe, then you capture that person rather than them going elsewhere or coming back to you and 2 or 3 other people, because you're there when they need them.
I was actually going to stop you because you were going on, but actually that was all gold dust. Yeah, I love what you're saying there. I think Peter Knight talks about it a lot, and I think Seth Godin was actually echoing it the other day. Stop comparing yourself just to the other estate agent. You've got to compare yourself to other industries, other businesses down the high street. I was raging because my Uber Eats delivering my Greggs it had lied to me. It said it was going to be with me in 15 minutes, and in 17 minutes, and I was like, that's a customer service faux pas. We're just forever, aren't we, just needing it here now, our time, our needs. And whilst that might seem tremendously unfair, herein lies the opportunity. If you can deliver on that, you will take your unfair part of the marketplace without a shadow of a doubt, I'm sure, won't you?
Yeah.
Sorry, just very quickly, because within Yomdel service, one of the things you said there, we also use the mystery shopping, and it has become very much part of our business. Initially, the thought was, oh, mystery shopping, all staff won't like that. But the staff, actually, we are very clear and transparent. They're very aware that we're doing it. They know what they should be saying. They're not led. It's very fair and reasonable. And one of the best reactions, and we've been doing it for a number of years now, Andy, but it is a culture within our business that we give feedback. We look at bad ones and we look at good ones. And one of the best things recently was somebody who scored 100% as far as the call was concerned, but came back to us and said, yeah, well, I got 100%, but I actually think I could have done this and this better. And so it actually is breeding a real culture of wanting to exceed expectations.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Well, we're going to come on to that in a lot more detail later on, but I think that's really good to understand in terms of there. And I think as long as mystery shopping does get a number of people, but normally that's when it's that sort of mystery shopping when you're deliberately trying to catch people out, isn't it? When, as you said there, when people are understanding that it's constructive and just trying to help the even better if mentality, then actually you can, well, certainly the right people will agree with you, won't they, in terms of wanting to have that process? Because why would you not want to know?
Part of the culture that you have to breed within a company.
Yeah, it is. I was going to say, if people think you're trying to catch them out, then they're not probably the right cultural fit for your organisation, because that's clearly not what it's about. And I think Simon summed up mystery shopping perfectly. People need to be able to engage with it and work out how they can improve from it.
Yeah, great.
The most powerful reviews you can ever have are peer reviews. And if as an individual, you ever put yourself through a piece of 360 appraisal, for example, as I once did, asking not just former work colleagues, but also members of my family to appraise me, it's a really scary thing to do. But the outputs that come from it are so valuable if you enter into the right spirit. It's all about finding ways to be better at the end of the day. And of course, these days, as both Simon and Nick, you said very, very clearly, it's all about the customer. The customer really does not care about an estate agent. The customer doesn't care about what the estate agent is thinking. The customer only cares about what they are thinking. And one of the reasons that Yomdel exists really is to offer that immediate channel to enable customers to have themselves heard. To enable them to be put into the driving seat. And then it's down to our clients and our partners that we work with to deliver against those expectations. But by managing those expectations carefully, at the same time as identifying the needs, then you start to form the basis and the foundation of an absolutely superb customer experience. You only have one opportunity to make a good first impression. And with the shift in behavior, the shift online, which is, as Simon, you said, is just accelerated, was already there. Now the time for digital transformation is kind of gone. You should be well into it by now. If you're not, start running really, really, really quickly. But people are very impatient with dealing in micro moments. They can be distracted with just a little nudge, a little ping going off somewhere on their device. It's enough to take them away and forget they were ever even looking at your website, or they might not even know what your website was.
I just had a look at a squirrel ran past my window there, and I was like that, and that's what you're fighting against.
On everything I said already, then.
You just say all right.
Yeah. You can't actually facilitate the short attention span of certain people, though, to be fair.
But just to sort of finish that sort of line of thought take a little bit further. Yomdel's been very, very fortunate that the kinds of businesses that naturally migrate towards us are those that are, and Simon and Nick, of course, you both know this, are the more forward-thinking, innovative, and better organized businesses. They're the ones that are always thinking a few steps ahead, not thinking about just the here and now and the sky is falling in, what do I do, and all the rest of it. It's actually about having a coherent strategy and plan, but being prepared to move where necessary and being prepared to ask the really, really tough questions. And as has already been said here, no customer ever wants an estate agent to walk into the house and tell them how big their market share is.
What was I going to say then? I was getting a bit worried.
Well, yeah, there were other things too.
It's almost as blue, because you were going to mention Christopher Watkins' market share there, weren't you? Is no one wants to know about your pie charts.
Let's get it in perspective. It's not saying no, market share is not something to be mentioned. It is something to be mentioned, but it's only to be mentioned in the context of what the customer needs.
Yes.
And it's about reinforcing and creating the evidence behind whatever else is being discussed. You've got to build that trust and that rapport.
And everything you were talking about there, though, whether we're talking about, the mystery shop, the things often that most improve you are the things that take you out of that comfort zone, whether that's, things like role play. And I do mean that in a business sense, Simon, before you start jumping in. Yeah, things like that instantly, they do put people on the back foot. But that's because actually that's how you genuinely try to improve, isn't it, normally? Because otherwise you're just going through the same old motions by definition, aren't you? Anyway, Andy, you haven't introduced yourself, and we're almost finished.
I've been uncharacteristically quiet, haven't I? It means the conversation has been so enthralling.
That's what you get.
Obviously, Andy Solomon, the founder of Yomdel, and so we are the providers of managed live chat in the UK. Big slice of the property market, probably 20% of estate agents use us. Some of the most forward-thinking and best brands in the country, two of which are on this call today. And actually, I will just mention YouMove in particular because we started working together in 2014. And we've been Yomdel and YouMove and some of their other partners that have been working with them through these years. We've formed a fairly sort of close-knit group, really, where we've all been working for this common good, where we're all looking at the pillars, the value pillars, the propositions that YouMove actually has, of which Yomdel helps meet the always available customer service type approach. And we've all grown together along that journey and learned an awful lot along the way. And that's been hugely rewarding for us. And then with Martin Gerard, we've been working together. So it's 2016, for almost 5 years, Simon. That's you don't look a day older, I've got to say. But also it's another example of a business which is very forward thinking. And so we get the best results for our clients, be it on mystery shopping or on the live chat side of things, when we're actually working in a very close partnership. This is not an arm's length relationship. On live chat, we are being entrusted with creating that first impression, and you only have one opportunity to make a good first impression. If you don't make a good first impression, you've not just lost that customer for then, you've probably lost them forever. And then you may also lose others as a consequence of that. So that first impression is so absolutely critical.
And, sorry, go on. When you say something, you're finished.
No, I was just going to say, that first impression is not just Yomdel's responsibility, but it's the responsibility of the entire business. Because as we work together, and as different suppliers, as we come together to try to deliver a more unified approach to the solutions that the clients that we work with need, their welfare is our welfare. If our clients don't thrive, then my business doesn't thrive either. And we have this relationship which is utterly dependent on each other's success. Which is a really good place to be. But you have to have that close, honest, open relationship. Not be afraid to say when things are good, but importantly, not be afraid to say when things are bad. But then further into the businesses as well, things like mentioned the mystery shopping, understanding how every component part of your business is functioning, how it's being perceived, importantly perceived by the customers, and being able to use those impartial views to not only improve your performance, but also ensure that the customers are recognizing why you are different and why you are better, and work on developing those key points of differentiation and those USPs. If every time you can turn that dial just a little bit, it's in everyone's favor.
Well, you're obviously 10 times the salesperson I am, because Simon was always very good for saying, tell me, even if I don't want to hear it, I want you to tell me. And every time I told him, he'd kick me out of the office. Let's talk about first impressions, though. So I'm guessing both of you, the way you found Yomdel was with chat. What was it that first attracted you about, obviously, the chat? Why did you think you need it? And how have you come to rely on that within the agency? Over to you, Simon, first.
Well, I think we've discussed a little bit about the chat and how it works. That it was in order to try and provide a 24/7 service to the customer here and now, so that answers could be given where they could, and that we could hook them. And the extension of that, so that we're assisting in registering them out of hours and stuff like that, is essential, because it means we're capturing more people. But as a business owner, if I'm really honest with you, it's not only about the service that is provided, because the fact that Nick's been with Andy since the beginning, and that I've been with him for nearly 5 years, neither of us suffer fools gladly. And if they weren't exceptional at what they do, neither of us would be sitting here talking about it. So to a degree, that is almost a given. For me, one of the most important things is the reporting and the assistance that Yomdel have given us in ensuring that any lead goes to the right person, can be copied to somebody else. There's a dashboard. So we've got lots of checks and balances in place to ensure that the service that we're providing after the person's given their information means that they are getting a response within 10 minutes, normally within an hour, definitely, so that we are ensuring that there isn't a breakdown. And that very often, as we all know, there are little technical glitches within your system that may mean that certain information isn't going through. And Andy has worked very hard to make sure that reporting wise, all the leads that you get are properly checked, and that you have a mechanism to ensure that the service levels are where you would want them to be, so that you're perpetuating that service. And as a business owner, we all know that reporting and monitoring and making sure that we can report back to the staff and reward them, because out of their last 20, they have responded to all of them within 10 minutes, so they get a prize or whatever. It helps us to get those behaviors right and also catch anything that will fall through.
Yeah, just to point out, that was a card that didn't warrant anyone muting.
I thought it was your
I can pass my window. I can only apologise. It wasn't
doing like this.
Go and get your Greg's now. We can all pause for a second, you know, Simon.
I think what I'm hearing there, Simon, as well, is, you know, that there is, the problem is you could get, and I'm guessing here, Andy, but, you know, your teams will be talking to agents. They'll say, oh, look, we've got chat, we're covered. And the problem is that they think that it's been commoditized and it's just, you know, that's literally kind of what it's about. But that's realistically just as lazy as saying that all agents are the same, isn't it? There is a massive spectrum in capability, scalability, deliverability, and configuration that comes with every single package. So just like everything in life, there is a choice to be made. And yes, you can go for cheap and cheerful, but guess what? You're not going to get the sort of service that you're getting here. It sounds to me, from what Simon's been saying and Nick's alluded to before.
Yeah, absolutely right, Simon. And when we started Yomdel, we were the first in the UK to be offering services like this into the kind of the SME sector. Yeah. Our challenge was to educate people what live chat was, because no one really knew what it was. It was kind of there around the periphery, but it wasn't common. Now it's common. And so the challenge really is to try to educate people what good looks like. And actually, you know, a good live chat service, outsourced live chat service on your website, representing your brand and representing your business, needs to be able to do pretty much as good a job as you would have someone sitting inside your office when someone walks off the street. You know, they might not be the expert and be, you know, the person who knows all the details about the transactions, all the rest of it, but they need to be able to do that initial meet, greet, and understanding kind of analysis of the actual needs of the customer really, really well. There are plenty of other live chat services out there. Not all of them are, there's no such thing as cheap and cheerful, actually. There's some very expensive and very uncheerful versions. And there's some very cheap and extraordinarily uncheerful versions. So you have to be very, very careful, because again, you are trusting these outsiders to make that first impression on your behalf. And that first impression is what people take away with them. That first impression reflects on their values.
Yeah, and everyone will know this, won't they? The brilliance of chat is that element of convenience that you can get to it straight away. You know, let's face it, you can still be doing other things and everything else there. But if you get a poor experience back at that point when you want it there, like it takes ages to connect, or, you know, it flows up, and you're just away from that website in nanoseconds, aren't you?
Yeah. Well,
I'll probably add to that, Andy. I think, you know, for us, you know, we have a different model, as I mentioned. So essentially our franchisee does everything right through from appraisal, all of the viewings, right through to completion. So you've got one individual operating with that customer from start to finish. So clearly they can't be up 24/7, and they can't literally be on you know, notice to every single possible prospect inquiry. So we always talk about first contact resolution. So whether it's by phone or by web chat or anything else. So that, you know, we need to have some degree of filtration to get the very, very, you know, high quality leads that are going to convert to our agents on the ground, because that's where they go around to the house and meet with them and establish a personal relationship. So we have to rely 100%. So our entire technology layer to get those customers through to our franchisees has to work on a first contact resolution basis. And that's what Andy has been able to provide for us. So that is so critical to the efficiency of our entire organizational infrastructure that there's just no point, you know, trying to do it on the cheap. And as Andy said, you know, you can pay more and get less. You know, we've worked with Andy, and it's not just the sort of operational effectiveness of what Andy does or the commercials of what Andy does. It comes back to what you said before about having our suppliers inside the tent. So everyone knows where they fit in that customer journey, which is why there's that seamless experience for the customer. And that's what's so important.
I was just imagining how attractive the franchise proposition would be at YouMove if you were saying you need to be working 24 hours a day. There's a
Well, as far as our customers are concerned, they do. Yeah,
and that's truly what the digital proposition is about these days, isn't it? Is making that tech feel it's almost like you've won when they say, how are they doing that?
Yeah.
So there's just, if I may just add a little couple of other comments on the where Yomdel fits in terms of live chat. It's actually not just about having a chat. It's never been just about having a chat. It's actually about having a very structured engagement where you can actually build this trust and rapport. But then once you've captured that information, and then that's then sent through to the recipient, the client business, Yomdel has a huge number of responsibilities to go beyond just having a chat. Making sure that the content is presented in a way which is in a very user-friendly and easy to identify what the opportunity is and sent through to systems. Making sure that where possible we can integrate, or where required we can integrate into CRM projects. In fact, Repeat Foundations was mentioned earlier, and we're part of that as well. Yeah. And then making sure that those that are working with us can understand where the value is residing, because we have so often the challenge is we do whatever we do, we send it through, and then we lose sight. So again, it's about having that collaborative approach where we're not trying to put our prices up if someone's really successful off the back of what we do. We're going to be absolutely delighted because they're going to stick with us. So it's about evidencing the return on investment, and really being able to be unequivocal in our understanding over what the consequence is, the so what question. Why is it important to have this? Why is it important that Yomdel does this? And then beyond that, offering additional services which just start to join the whole infrastructure together, whether it's the dashboard, which has been mentioned already, or other additions. So for example, taking chat into social media channels, or offering agents QR codes in their window. At the beginning of lockdown, where someone outside can just, QRs have come into prominence in the last few months, very strangely, with track and trace and all the rest of it. But the QR codes that that enable people to chat straight from a shop window on the pavement with one of our operators in 15 seconds, and just making sure that that we understand what the clients actually need, and it's now moving further on that way as well, because talks about tire kickers, talk about helping agents focus in on the things they need to do, the things where their competencies really lie, the things they're really good at, and taking away all the noise behind them so they can focus in on the good things. So we've been having, especially during the last 6-7 months, a huge demand for ancillary services such as inbound call handling, or lead qualification, outbound lead qualification, for example. So calling up portal leads, qualifying them, booking them in as viewings or appraisals, so that when someone comes into the office the next morning, the diary is all full, it's all done for them. Linking live chat into those other channels as well. There's so many different things that a good live chat provider should be doing.
Yeah, okay. And Simon, talking about linking the live chat into the actual, how have you linked it into the actual sales and service process within there? For example, how do you get the leads? Who follows up those leads? Just talk us through the actual process that goes on at your business.
Well, the actual process is that it depends what kind of lead it is to a certain extent, because there are, in the present climate, people who are looking to buy a property, an applicant, which is a lead, and then there are marketing appraisals and valuations, which are gold dust and are a bit of a stronger lead. Andy's helped enormously with our digging process, because one of the biggest challenges for us is that people, the number of people who are able to buy cash is unbelievable, who don't have something to sell. So they've helped, and we've gone over different scripts to try and encourage out of people who are looking at property to find out whether or not they are a valuation lead as well. Those go through, the applicants go through to the office. They also go through to our client services department, and they're picked up by one of those. So that's why they're covered within an hour. because we have one that will deal with it if they're in the office, but if they're not in the office, then the client services department jump all over it. Then you've got marketing authority, marketing appraisals, which go directly through to the manager and also to one particular person in client services. And obviously those are easy wins for client services. So they are generally called within 10 minutes.
I bet they love it, don't they?
Oh yes, easy win that is. So that's why the offices are on them quickly as well. So, and if it, as I said before, it's somebody who's in the moment and wants to talk to someone then and there, then Yomdel grab the additional information and put them through to a specific person who will then speak to them and book an appraisal or talk them through the process or see where they are. But everything gets dealt with in super quick time. We have the dashboard so that can be looked at by directors more than by staff. Otherwise it gives them too much tech and it's too confusing. Most things are integrated, which is, I believe, one of the most important words in property at the moment, which is integration, because staff can't be expected to remember to do 14 things in 14 different places. But if they've got a reminder in one place about each of those 14 different things, it's going to be a lot more practical. So everything feeds through to the same place to ensure that we are exceeding expectations. We've worked on the basis that we say that we will respond within 2 hours, because we always respond within an hour.
Yeah. So that's setting the expectation, that delivery on customer service is absolutely paramount in terms of your setup there.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the integration, as I say, and the checks and balances, and with the mystery shop, it's very much the same. Everybody knows the checks and balances are there. They're not there to catch them out. They're there to assist them to make sure they don't forget stuff, because everyone does. But they've got to use the system properly. Yeah.
And Nick, how about yourself? What's the process at YouMove?
Yeah, so essentially, as you mentioned earlier, we've got our own in-house system which these guys can plug into and log into. So as soon as a lead comes in, it then gets confirmed back, depending on what it is. So let's say somebody books a viewing or books an appraisal, a text message confirmation goes back to the customer. It also goes back to the franchisee that's going to deal with it. So they have on their mobile phone all of that customer information right there and then, so they can just return that call immediately or as soon after as they possibly can. So that does mean that there is a lot of immediacy around response. And one of the things, as you mentioned at the beginning of this call, Simon, is what can we learn from other industries? And I used to work at First Direct Bank many moons ago, which is probably the most highly rated bank in the UK and most recommended for sure. And one of the things they learned through a huge amount of research on this was customers are more concerned with the quality response than the speed. So speed is critical, but there's no point ringing them up and saying, I can't help you, I'll just need to transfer you to somebody else. It's about having the right person ring them up in a time critical manner who can then go into the level of detail and the resolution that customer is looking for. So in our case, if somebody wants to book an appraisal, it's the person who does the appraisal that is going to be the first person to speak to them.
Yeah.
So not only do they do it quickly, that relationship is being built right there and then, which is followed through in the lounge, in the front room, in the house, which is why our conversion rate on appraisals is astronomically high.
And that's what you put it down to, that whole communication just running through from start to finish with that, yeah?
Yeah, because the fewer number of relationships the customer's got to build and maintain, then so much the better. And people do make buying decisions on the strength of the relationship with the guy who sat on the settee when they're thinking about selling the house, more so than pretty much anything else.
I think just to add to that, that it's about, if you can deliver an exceptional experience every single step of the way, or as close to exceptional as you possibly can, you're getting the customer very, very quickly into a position to look for reasons not to use you, as opposed to looking for reasons to use you. So then you're pushing against an open door, and it's yours to lose. Obviously, your proposition and everything else has to be right, but if you can get that mindset to switch Say, I really like that experience. From the first time I've made contact with this business, that's been good and that's been good, and so on through the entire process. It's a very powerful thing. And you know, the difference between, I guess, and I'll ask this to Simon and to Nick, for the guys on the ground who are dealing with the Yomdel leads that are coming through, those people typically have already had an in-depth conversation that may have lasted, on average, between 12 and 14 minutes. Right, it's a really long time, it's a really deep engagement. A lot of information is exchanged there. The Yomdel operator is spending a lot of time to understand the needs of that person, and that person feels special is probably not quite the right word, but they certainly feel the whole conversation has been focused around them. And at the end of it, they've got an outcome, and they've got an expectation. And as long as that is all delivered on, that goodwill that was generated in that first initial contact will carry on all the way down through the chain. And in fact, we do recommend that people actually think about the Yomdel operators as being an extension of their own team. You know, they might not be sitting in your own office or sitting in your own part of the country, but they are actually working and representing your brand in the same way that all your other staff are representing your brand. And
Andy, you simply don't get that from the vast majority of other chat services, do you?
No, you don't. No.
And one of the beauties on top of that is the transparency, because all of when the inquiry comes through to us, it comes through in a form with a chat, exactly the same as the customer can download as well. Yeah. So they have actually got a record of what's been said within the chat as well as you, so they know, and you can refer to it, so expectations are met. And very often people in a conversation will think they've said something or told someone about something. You know that, Simon, and it's not always because they're drunk. And actually they didn't. So the fact that you've also got a transcript of the chat, both of you have, that you can refer to, you can ensure that the relationship goes on exactly the right lines, and you can refer to it so that it feels as if it's seamless and they were part of the same agency.
Absolutely. And so there's one little thing I'll just add to that. So we provide all of our clients with a PDF format of the lead itself. So it's branded with their logo. It's got the summary details so they can see at a glance what's actually in the lead, and then it has the full transcript. And we actually encourage people, when they're going out on appointments, to take examples of these leads with them. So they can be meeting a vendor, for example, at their house, someone who had nothing to do with the live chat service at all, but they could give them a printout of a lead that came through from a buyer, say at 2 o'clock in the morning, and say, have a little read of that. You know, here's an example of how we will be genuinely marketing your property 24 hours a day. You know, or if someone has come through chat and there's a physical appointment, make damn sure that nicely formatted lead is also top of the folder, so they can see that it's a joined up customer experience. Oh, I saw you chat with my colleague Hannah online on Friday night, you know, or whatever it may be. It just adds to that joined up experience.
I like what Simon was saying there before, and obviously he's far too professional to say it, but I'm not. In that, you know, let's face it, that there is a certain propensity of the great British public who are complete bastards. and actually, you know, whether I think you were being really kind, Simon, where you were saying they might have misremembered. They haven't misremembered. You know, and actually, you know, they will try everything, because that, unfortunately, in this world, complaining sometimes gets a better level of service, and it's a horrible circular argument that reinforces itself. But actually being able to, and sometimes, and the worst part about it I've seen in many businesses, is where it stops management being able to trust their staff, because they err, don't they? Or well, maybe they didn't deliver the right service or didn't say the right thing or whatever else. And actually with this, you can be 100% certain and push back a little bit when is required. So I think that's a perfect element for that tonic, as I said, of the great British public. And Andy, just give us an idea of what other tools do you give other tools to help out with the chat as well to get the most out of it?
Sorry, say it again, Simon.
I was just saying, do you provide other tools to kind of help you, the agents, get the most out of chat?
Well, I mean, our dashboard is our kind of prime center. You know, this is something that we've developed extensively over the last 3 or 4 years now. And it's much more than just a dashboard, and over time is going to be added to even more with a lot of exciting things that we've got coming down the line. But within that dashboard, you've got a real-time view of everything that's going on. You can see the chats that are happening. You can see your 90-day tracking customer satisfaction score, which is based off of real customer feedback, which is very powerful, and typically 95% plus across the board, very high. You can download all your transcripts, your data, your leads. Everything's there in one simple place. You can look at trends over time. You can look at the breakdown of the leads. I mean, it's a wonderful tool. But then beyond that, we also offer integrations into things like Google Analytics. It's very easy in Google Analytics for a chat event to trigger as an event, but what's really hard is knowing what happened in that chat. Google doesn't know that because it's a conversation that's taken place between an operator and us. So our integration into Google Analytics enables a full view of all the different types of outcomes from those interactions that take place, and then you can lay that alongside your other marketing channels for those that have that propensity to look at that data, to understand how live chat works alongside all your other acquisition channels and other customer service channels. Essentially, beyond that, it's then about linking in with live chat. So our Yomdel Live Connect service, which has been touched on by Simon and Nick, who use it for the franchisee recruitment part of the business, where someone will engage in chat. They're fully motivated. They're in the moment. I think, as was mentioned also earlier in this conversation, and we then pass them seamlessly through from live chat into a voice call with our client. But we don't do that through some automatic dialer in case the number doesn't get answered. It's done with a soft, human, direct handover to a member of the sales team who are briefed in, so the customer knows that they will be speaking to someone within just a few seconds. And that is extraordinarily powerful when all the circumstances collide nicely. And then beyond that, it's just looking really at the marketing channels, placing chat into other places beyond just websites. And building chat into response like email responses, SMSs. I mean, it goes on and on and on, really. Looking at that whole communication piece and looking at where we fit in. I
guess that what do they call it? Omni-channel, don't they? That's really important these days to make sure that you are delivering consistency across all kind of all channels there.
Yes, no, that's right. I mean, the unfortunate reality is, again, because of the consumer's in control, so they're not going to follow any rules. The only rule they're going to follow is what they want to follow themselves. And that means as a business, that's really, really inconvenient, because it means that people want to do things when they're closed. It means people want to use channels that maybe they don't offer. And if they don't offer live chat, there are lots and lots and lots of people out there who will only use live chat these days. They will never pick up the phone. So if you're not using live chat, you should. Whether it's us or someone else, your call, but you should.
Yeah. A couple of comments from people. Andy Parker, she said, great presentation. Andy Solomon, so he's catching you up on points, Nick, quite quickly here. And Tom Gilbert makes the point, engaging with and capturing customers 5 to 9, powerful. So yes, okay, thank you, Tom. So let's have a look, Nick, in terms of, because you use it in a slightly different way as well, don't you? Where you enable the Yomdel live chat operators to actually make sales appointments. Can you just talk how that works as well at YouMove?
Yeah, so sure. So essentially, we've got an integration between the franchisee's Google application and our Eureka application and our website and Yomdel as well. So essentially, what the franchisee can do is expose a number of appointments in their diary where they're available to do viewings or appraisals. That information then is exposed to the relevant properties or the valuation on the website, so customers can go to the website and just self-serve and book themselves if they want to do. But obviously the web chat box pops up as well, and customers tend to gravitate towards that because it's easier and it's probably more constructive for them to do that. And Andy's guys can have access to Eureka as well. So if somebody wants to book an appraisal at 12 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon and there's a booking slot there, they can actually book that in. It gets logged down, it gets confirmed back to the customer, it gets confirmed back to the franchisee immediately by text and email. If there isn't a slot available or that suits the customer, then that can be referred back to the franchisee as a callback request, and they can make it one-to-one. But having the appointments to view is really, really important, because that does enable us to capture all of those people that work during the week and can only engage with an agent at the weekend or in the evening, they can actually book viewings without reference to the franchisee. But the franchisee has pre-allocated that time available for viewings with the agreement with the vendor and so on and so forth. And it means we lock people down to what they wanted to achieve at the time they were able to do it. And this is what we're thinking about, this first contact resolution. So they've gone on the website, they've got engaged with web chat, and they've come off 12 or 14 minutes later with a confirmed appointment in their diary, information from the franchisee. That's all automated. Our franchisee doesn't even know this has happened yet. They just get confirmation it's all done. So efficiency for the franchisee is top notch. Efficiency for the customer is top notch, and the quality of accuracy comes from the engagement they get with Yomdel. So that's where that rounded customer journey sort of really does work quite seamlessly. It's very good.
It's the laziest phrase of all, but that seems like a no-brainer. But you know, on the face of it, actually, it's a big step for a business, isn't it? Because they are absolutely intimately then part of your business. It's not that this is a supplier to your business. This is genuinely a partner in its biggest respect. Was that an easy decision to make, or was that just as you grew in confidence when you realised that Andy's team did all this?
Yeah, it's just since we've been on this call that I actually remember back to how Yomdel was implemented in the first place. And this is when I was a franchisee. And actually the founders then, Glenn and David, said, right, we've got this great idea to use web chat, so who wants to use it? And some franchisees said yes, some franchisees said no. So it was deployed on a choice basis. It wasn't universally deployed across the network. And that was supposed to be how it was going to be forever and a day. But within a matter of weeks, if not a couple of months, the variance in performance was so massive between those that were using chat and those that weren't. We just deployed it across the network. And it's been like that ever since.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Great plaudits there.
As far as the booking in is concerned, it's a game changer. We've been using it for a short while now, but it goes back to the comment that I was making about being in the moment. Because if someone's on the site and they're looking at a property and they're in chat and they are interested in viewing it, there's no problem whatsoever. The Yomdel agent is more than able to book it in through, because we're using Repeat, so we have the system. They can book in the appointment for them then and there. Now, for us, the benefit is that, as I said, people very often, like they channel hop, they surf. And so they will go from website to website, and they will forget, much as they do at valuation, if we're honest, they will forget who said what, where what was. But if they're in the moment, oh, I'd like to see that, and they can, and it can be booked in, it means that there are certain sales that we are picking up that on multiple agency, without a shadow of a doubt, could have been lost to another agent because they happened to be in their site at the time, and that's what they remembered. So that's been very important. And for valuation, if people are interested in having a valuation, having it booked in so that when my guys come in, they've got valuations in the diary for the next day is, as I say, a game changer. They're used to it because our client services does it for them anyway. But rather than us having to call them, it means that we've been there like that to supply what they want, where they want, and how they want it.
I feel like you're almost gaming the system by understanding human psychology so much and just creating the solution around it. But of course, it is still just playing to that basic premise of giving the customer what they want when they want it at that time. And Simon, just you've mentioned it a few times today, but can we just look at the other side of the equation with this customer service measurement and improvement and that mystery shop again? I mean, I think we've all heard, mystery shop campaigns, but can you talk about kind of specifically about how some of the ways that Yomdel help you out with that process in your business?
Well, we've again been using this for about 5 years as well. And initially, when it first came into the business, there was a lot of concern about what would happen as a result of it. But as I say, it was as a result of our culture day that we decided to push forward with it, because we're not trying to catch people out. We use telephone inquiry, we've had viewing inquiry, we've had actual valuations as well. Obviously, the present situation has curtailed that somewhat, but it's a case of trying to maintain a consistently good service. And the only real way to do that is to make sure that your staff appreciate what is important in ascertaining from a call. So we share that with them. We give them all the answers to the mystery shop. It's like, here's an exam and here's all the answers. All you've got to do is remember it. You can even stick it on your computer if you want.
You've got your crib sheet.
Yeah, and if you do it, like you always have, Simon, you can have it there, and if you get 100%, you get a day at the MG Villa in Cyprus. So we are really pushing them to provide the best possible service to our customers and giving them every tool to enable them to do it. It doesn't always happen, and it's also helped us in other ways, because where it doesn't happen, it's expected that people don't always do it right. And where it is, it's a discussion with them, and the fact that there's no repercussions and that they can go back out into the business. Yes, they get three crappy ones in a row, and there's a very different conversation to be had. But everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has off days.
To be fair, Simon, they would be getting that conversation anyway, wouldn't they, at a point in time? You know, they would be, the classic one is you'd have the gut feel anyway, telling you that that person isn't performing, and all this is giving you is the transparency and analytics that is confirming that gut feel.
No, I don't think it is. We have never ever had mystery shopping that has confirmed that we should sack someone, and we have. That is not in any.
You've never employed me.
I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm not that much of a glutton. No, we've never used it like that. It's always used constructively. We like to give our staff every opportunity to excel. If they make a mistake or they're not doing well, that is down to us because we haven't provided them the right training. If they don't fit into our culture, they will leave because they won't be earning the right money. But we will be giving them everything they need to make sure that they do. And Yomdel and the mystery shopping helped us because, for example, when we were doing an email mystery shop, we discovered that certain emails from certain portals, not to be named, weren't going to where they should have been going. And as a result, our response time was at 3 or 4 hours rather than what we promised. So the mystery shopping actually helped point out a glitch in our procedures rather than our staff that allowed us to change things to improve our service and make sure that everything we do is the best that can be done in the area.
I think there's something here I'll just add very, very quickly, if I may, and it's one of the sort of the guiding principles that I've used throughout Yomdel and other parts of my various careers. That actually, in a process of continuous improvement, if that's what you're looking to achieve, is actually not about the things that you can see; it's about the things that you can't see. Someone themselves won't recognize their shortcomings necessarily in their performance. It will take someone else to view that, to identify that for them. Similarly, with competitors, you've got no idea what competitors are doing or how they're doing. You've got some anecdotal input, but at Yomdel with the mystery shopping, we can actually assess competitor performance. You know, whether that's actually just making inquiries of their normal processes or actually having home valuation visits. We can find out what they're actually doing.
Being able to benchmark against others, literally, in terms of
benchmark and find ways to turn the dial by affecting the things that you can't see.
Yeah, because Simon's obviously in a hugely competitive part of North London there, where you have got good fees, but that's attracted an incredible amount of agents there. So I guess that kind of information is really helpful, mind you. Knowing you, it's just about you getting on with what you do best, isn't it? Really.
Well, I was going to say, do we have that many competitors? I don't take a great deal of notice of them.
Are you yet, Nick?
We're doing the service, and we're selling the majority of the properties that we're taking on, and we have that rude word market share. So we're making a large profit where we can, or paying it to certain pink and other people, suppliers. Then that's the important thing. We need to be the best that we can be. If we're the best that we can be, then we wipe everyone out, mate.
Only a Simon could say that and get away with it. Well done, sticking up for our name there with the classic narcissism that we get. Okay, how do you stop, Simon? In terms of the actual process, I want to just really drill down into, does it then take place, if you decide you're going to do a mystery shop campaign, does it take place over, let's say, what is it, a few days, a week, a month? Do you stagger it across the year? Do you let the staff know when it's happening? How do you stop that kind of, like at awards time when they used to do it, everyone was always on the ball, weren't they, for the 1 week of the year that mystery shopping was happening, and then it's sort of like it would be sod answering the phone the rest of the time. How do you stop that gaming of the system by the staff when you're doing the kind of project?
Well, that very much depends how engaged you are with the mystery shopping, because I'm going to look to the left a little because my memory is fading, but there are so many different kinds of mystery shopping that we do. So we generally have around 4 mystery shops a year.
Yeah.
And they occur over a 3-month period, so it can be at any time. And what we do is that we may do emails one time, calls another time, valuations another time, but every single time we then report all the results. If someone has bad ones, they can come and listen and find out why and see. If they have good ones, we very often publish them so everyone can hear what a good call sounds like, because there's nothing like praising people within their peer group for doing an exceptional job. And we do it on a rotation basis. They don't know which one's coming up until we report on it. But every single time we report on it, we send out all the processes for all the 5 or 6 different things that we do that we mystery shop. Tell them to clue up, because the next round is happening and will happen over the next 3 months. So it's bloody pain in the bum having to do it continually, but doing it continually means that they're always on the ball. If you do it once a year, then they're going to be on it. But if it's a rolling situation, so it becomes, as I said, part of the culture and part of everyone looking at themselves and seeing how we can improve how they do things, that's the only way really that you can get staff to engage and provide the service you want. I learned 15, 20 years ago that I knew the kind of service that we wanted to offer, but standing there shouting at people as to how to do it, they're not necessarily going to listen to you. You have to encourage them, provide them to the tools, and build the culture so that everybody feels that it's part of their responsibility to make the firm what it is.
Exceptional. Yeah, exceptional. And what do you guys see as the next most important focus for agents in terms of kind of optimizing customer experience for the benefits of your customers and the agency? What's next, Nick?
You mean aside from getting Yomdel on your website if you don't already?
Oh, don't be so obvious. You were doing so well, Andy, there. It was a lovely soft sell there all the way through.
I think it comes back to, what can you learn from other sectors, other industries? And I think the whole COVID lockdown thing has changed what consumers believe their role is in purchasing and how much time they're willing to spend in purchasing and engaging. But fundamentally, I think agencies as a whole, and ourselves included, still make it quite difficult for customers to buy or engage with the product or service. We've talked today, Simon, myself, and with Andy's support, we're trying to make it as easy as we possibly can and time relevant for customers, quality experience, all of that kind of stuff. But I think on the whole, it is still very difficult for buyers to interact with agencies. And I know this real time. My son's just gone through the process of buying a house and must have tried to engage with half a dozen or a dozen different agencies. And the variability of service and actually being able to engage is still, as an industry, woeful. and we've got to look at how we can make that better. And I don't really care whether, you know, we're the best national agent in the UK right now. We are still not good enough, and we'll continue to push as much as we can to improve still further, because I know where we can improve, and we'll just move further ahead if nobody else is bothered to catch up. But if they don't, they just won't survive.
Yeah, great points.
I think that you're quite right, that as far as the market out there is concerned, there are a large number of agents that don't do it right. Unfortunately, I've had my time trying to deal with that and get that across and get that changed. And unfortunately, I've now moved on and decided that we need to make sure that we are as good as we can be and live on our reputation and put ourselves forwards as being the difference, because unfortunately, there are a large number of crap agents out there that don't get it. And regardless of what happens moving forward, yes, some will have to close, but there will be some that remain open that give us a terrible, terrible reputation. I mean, I think the people on this screen would all respond, well, except for Simon, would all respond immediately to any inquiry. But there are a number of agents out there that you might make an inquiry through Rightmove or Zoopla that just never get back to you. Now, we're never going to change that perception. We just have to say, well, I can assure you, you won't get that with us, and move on that basis and make ourselves as good as we can. And with Andy's help with Yomdel, with the chat, with the mystery shopping, and I think the other two challenges for us is, at the moment, everybody, as you and I discussed earlier, Simon, are busy out there on their combine harvesters making hay, which is what they should be doing, because we don't know how long this is going to last. Yeah. But we do need to bear in mind that regardless of where the market goes, good agents will survive as long as they are integrating everything and making sure that there is a connection between everything that they do and the service they offer.
You should be doing this, really, shouldn't you? That's like, long may those crap agents be out there, and keep doing it.
If I may just add something to that. Technology is a great empowerer, and we've been talking about the switch to digital and changing consumer behavior and all of those kinds of things. But let's not forget that estate agency and the human transaction, and technology isn't necessarily going to be the cure-all for all of these things. Putting a chatbot on your website that you've built it as an estate agent yourself, or someone's helped you build it, which then just goes into a horrible cycle where it can't answer any questions at all apart from the ones it wants to know, is going to detract from your customer experience. If you're ending up with a human, you want to deliver a human, a comforting experience, then you have to think human first, and that bridge between technology, digital, and the human experience all in one place. And that's quite hard to achieve, but that's not going to change. And the fact that being able to be human online, I think, is going to be a great differentiator going forward as well, where the tendency is going to be to try to automate as much as possible.
Okay. Well,
technology, without a doubt, is a facilitator, but as both Nick and I have said, it is a facilitator to provide worthwhile consultants that will build a relationship, because regardless, people will buy homes built on a relationship because it's an emotional feeling that they get when they go and see a property, and they need to fill that a lot of the time with the person who's selling them the property or selling their property.
You only ever used to give that spiel to try and beat you up on price. Technology won't do everything, Whaley. Come on, 20% off.
20? Well, we're live, aren't we? I forgot, sorry.
As usual, who would have guessed it with this panel on board? We've done well over an hour, so we are going to wind it up. But first and foremost, I joked earlier, everyone's going to give Andy a ring. Just get in contact with the team, either via the Kerfuffle website itself with Inquire, reach out direct to Andy and just obviously talk to Kerfuffle. But you're going to make it even better than that, Andy, aren't you? You've got a bit of a special deal for our.
Oh, God, yeah. So we've never done anything like this before. In fact, we've always shied away from even things like free trials, because we don't believe that starts the relationship off in the right place. Yomdel is always going to be an investment, and an investment that delivers a return on investment. It should never be seen as a cost. However, what we're doing is we are offering, if anyone wants to come and try our turnkey, very successful live chat service, managed live chat service 24/7, we will scrap our setup fees for now. So there's no onboarding fees. In fact, there is no cost at all in the first month. At the end of the first month, if we haven't hit 3 defined success criteria, you're free to walk away with without paying anything. And more than that, if we have failed to meet those three success criteria, we will actually pay you 25% money back. So you could actually walk away with more money than you started and have had a month of Yomdel. However, I don't actually honestly expect we'll pay the 25%, because the results that we achieve are normally very, very good. But in our consultation with our clients, we'll look at the business, and where we believe we'll be able to make a difference, and in almost all cases we can, then we will recommend a deployment that we believe will be a really impactful addition to their business, to put it mildly.
That's fantastic. I love that ballsy offer like that.
It is very ballsy. So to reiterate, so that's no setup fee, a month of service. You're free to leave any time in that month. However, if you leave and we haven't hit those 3 success criteria, we will pay you back the equivalent of 125% money back.
That's amazing. Well, thank you. That's still only half the story, though, isn't it, Andy? Because that's on the top of it already. You can get the best possible prices with, obviously, via commission.
Indeed, you can. Also, on top of that, of course, even if you do end up paying and you don't get your money back because the service is so good, you will also benefit if you come via Kerfuffle for the very, very special Kerfuffle deal. But actually, it's even better than the Kerfuffle deal, because we're not charging setups. They're saving that as well, and they will get the Kerfuffle prices.
Just remind me, Andy, what photos did I have on you to get this deal?
You can just see the full camera, because he's not wearing anything down below.
That is absolutely fantastic, Andy. I do thank you. And as I said, anybody who's thinking about, I mean, if you're not thinking about customer service, what you're doing in the game anyway. But, if it's chat related, if you're looking at improvement, you've got to be reaching out to these guys. I think one thing I would just finish on here is we have all been lucky enough, and everyone would have snapped your hand off to get this market to respond to. What's equally true is, though, a lot of people are doing it with maybe less staff, and probably more than ever before, they are busy people, and it's entirely obvious, whether it's the corporates, some customer service levels have fallen off the side of the cliff. So some businesses, it almost looks like they haven't opened again, but the public will not be sympathetic. They might nod their head and understand there's a pandemic going on. They will still destroy you on a review form. But if you can step up to the mark here, this is why in things tough times like this, market share changes like that, doesn't it? And I think that's really where companies, I see, Andy, is why they've got to be talking to you. And look, we've got 2 of the very best here, and guys, I really appreciate it. Nick, you must have TV interviews to do, haven't you? With the actually, this is a matter of interest. Does Nighty get away with not giving you a medal these days because of COVID, or has he saved a bit of money there?
Well, I think he probably has, yeah. And it's quite weird. As we were watching the awards, I thought, I haven't done an acceptance speech. That must mean we haven't won. And then it was quite nice to find out we had one. So there you go.
Well, guys, I can't thank you.
Can I just add one more thing? Because there's a lot of people out there that will have live chat. They're doing it themselves or using another provider. Yomdel was the first. I know, I'm very passionate about it as a channel and always have been. So if anyone would just, without no strings attached, would just like to talk to me about the results they're getting with their existing live chat service, and to understand more about what could be possible, I'd also be very happy to do that.
Brilliant, Andy. That's great. And we're going to put a couple of the case studies we've mentioned here today. I think there's one from YouMove as well. We're going to put that into the Facebook groups and everything else. Please go have a look at Yomdel's landing page, as we always encourage you to do. It is such a big... Why would you trust it to anyone else and not do due diligence? Go to their page, look what companies like Nick and Simon and other, I'll put this phrase, high maintenance clients, they only I can say that and get away with it. The simple fact that these guys have been with them for such a long period of time tells you everything I think you need to know about the service that Yomdel delivers. So once again, guys, thank you very much. Enjoyed it, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Cheerio.